Hey everybody, I'm Ashleigh Banfield, and this is Drop Dead Serious. I thought this case couldn't get any more disturbing. And then the newest details came in. What happened to 22-year-old Rebecca Park isn't just brutal, it is almost impossible to wrap your head around it. But the story now comes complete with career criminals who have rap sheets as long as your arm and disturbing criminal pasts that are so dark, it makes you wonder how they were out walking among us in the free world. This episode is tragic. A pregnant woman vanishes, and weeks later, when she's found murdered in a remote Michigan forest, she's no longer pregnant. But her unborn baby is missing. And the people now accused of carrying out this horror? Her own biological mother and her stepfather. What's worse, Rebecca had been stabbed to death and her baby had been cut from her body. This time of year, when you see groups of people holding candles outside, they're usually Christmas carolers or it's a Christmas celebration of some kind, but not this weekend, not in a small town in Michigan. That's when Rebecca Park's candlelight vigil is scheduled. Rebecca's fiancé is now free to attend that vigil if he so chooses, and I say that because both he and Rebecca's sister, Kimberly, are out of jail after a judge drastically reduced their bail to $5,000. They had both been arrested the day after Rebecca was found. The sister for allegedly lying to the police and evidence tampering, and the fiancé for allegedly delivering meth. But notice, no murder charges. Very interesting. Kimberly, the sister, will not be attending Rebecca's service because she's confined to her house with an ankle bracelet. And I think it's safe to say Rebecca's biological mother and stepfather, they're not going to be at that vigil either. Because Cortney and Bradley Bartholomew, that's their names, they have also been jailed and they are being held without bond. And their charges are a hell of a lot more serious. Like first-degree murder, felony murder, torture, conspiracy to commit torture, assault on a pregnant individual causing miscarriage or stillbirth, conspiracy to commit assault on a pregnant individual causing miscarriage or stillbirth, unlawful imprisonment, and removal of a dead body. Which, of course, that list would be more than reason enough to deny them any bond at all, right? But at their arraignment this past Tuesday, the judge went further and told us something else. The fact that Cortney and Bradley Bartholomew both have long and ugly rap sheets, criminal histories. They both got records dating back more than 20 years, mostly for petty crimes, but not entirely. Bradley's record starts in 1997 with what appears to be theft. So welcome to the criminal world, Bradley. Congratulations. The paperwork called it receiving and concealing $100 or less. And there's a similar count in 2002. In 2001, he was charged with forgery. Then there's the driving with a suspended license charge, which, by the way, seems to become a hobby of his because he's been busted for that crime 10 times. In 2011, things got more serious for Bradley. He was convicted of criminal sexual conduct in the third degree. And in 2014, 2017, and 2024, he failed to comply with the sex offender registration requirements that no doubt came from that sex crime. Cortney, his lovely wife, first ran afoul of the law back in 2003 over an unlicensed dog. Okay, not a violent crime, but at least it was a beginning for Cortney. The next year, she was caught with an unlawful license. Plate. Like her husband, she's got several arrests for driving with a suspended license, but there's also a charge in 2005 for something called financial transaction device fraud. And in 2018, another for false or forged IDs. So clearly, she was progressing. In 2020, Cortney was convicted on 2 counts of lying to a peace officer. And in 2023, she falsely reported a misdemeanor. True crime podcaster Stephanie Pratt has interviewed Cortney Bartholomew more than once. But now she's got even more to say. Stephanie asked the jailed victim's mom straight out, was your husband, Bradley Bartholomew, in the house with you, along with Rebecca, the victim, on the night Rebecca died. And here's how Cortney Bartholomew answered.
Was Brad home at the time?
No.
Earlier on my NewsNation show, I talked to Stephanie Pratt. She has the podcast called Steph's Case Files. Here's our conversation. Stephanie, you've been doing really good work on this case. I think you're leading in the reporting. Tell me a little bit more about your conversations with Rebecca's mother.
Well, as you saw in that clip, the actual time span that it took her to answer me on whether he was there or not was 12 seconds. And that was a very long and silent 12 seconds. And to me, it was a simple yes or no answer. Was he there or wasn't he there? So in those 12 seconds, a lot of things I feel went through Cortney's mind. She's asked me this direct question. How do I answer this? Do I answer it in a way that puts him here in a safe time, maybe when her son was awake? Or do I just flat out lie and say no? And as you heard, she decided to say no.
I'm curious if your spidey senses tell you whether these folks are clever like a fox, or complete morons. And in my line of work, I come across more morons than foxes. I just don't know if she was doing the mental gymnastics or if she just started to realize, I think I might be painting myself into a corner.
Well, to be nice about it, Ashleigh, I have said several times it's almost like an episode of Dumb Criminals, because there are textbook 101 mistakes in this, from leaving a digital footprint of research beforehand to straight out lying to not just me, but several content creators about where and who was with her that night, times. And so there was shadiness going on from moment one with Cortney. And wading through all of her statements was challenging. But once we put it together in our head, it was simple. She was leading us, thinking she was leading us in a different direction. In fact, she sent someone a message from her Facebook stating that she was trying to do reverse psychology on us. That's her quote. And I couldn't believe what I was reading, because we are sitting here thinking there's no way that you're going to convince us that you didn't have some sort of part of this. We caught on really early to what she was trying to tell us, and even reading between the lines.
Well, Cortney seems to like to play dum-dum jujitsu, and it doesn't work well with someone like you, because you have also gone down the rabbit hole of the back charges, the long litany of rap sheet offenses that this couple has been convicted of. Let's go to Bradley's, because the history of sex offenses are very disturbing, and the number of times that he just disregards all the things you have to do after you serve time. Sex offender registration, serious business. And you were able to get a hold of his 2011 sex crime victim and talk to her. What did she tell you? What kind of enlightenment did you get about the man who's being held for the first-degree murder of his stepdaughter?
Well, Ashleigh, this was during the time that Rebecca was still missing. And I'd gotten a message from someone saying, of course, I want to remain anonymous, but I have to talk to you about that. I am the victim from 2011, and I have to tell you what happened to me. And she goes into detail about where this assault took place. We know it's not alleged at this time, because it is a conviction, the very conviction that he's having trouble keeping up with as far as registration is concerned. She said that he took her down that very 2-track, the one straight down from Cortney's house that the phone was found on. So this puts history with Brad assaulting women down that same 2-track. She told me this happened in 2011, and she has never recovered from it. In fact, now she has a 14-year-old daughter of her own. And Brad, in recent times, has tried to contact her own daughter and establish a relationship with her.
Well, that has got to be a massive sex offender registry offense as well, contacting the offspring of your victim. I hope that they reported that to his parole officer. Let's flip over now to Cortney Bartholomew and her long rap sheet. Too much to get into. I listed it off. Those were the greatest hits. But the interesting part is that there were court documents showing Cortney had lost custody of her older children. What was the reason that she was no longer allowed to see her own kids?
She has a 25-year-old son, and there was a part of court documents that talked about her not understanding the dangers of having a sex offender around her children. And I believe that there was several situations where she did have children around sexual offenders. This time didn't seem any different. She married one. In fact, he is not allowed to live at her home. She told me he was living in a tent 7 miles from her home because he's not allowed to be there. He's not allowed to be around minors. Her 14-year-old son is a minor, and he is caught on tape during the time that the protests were in front of the home of him being around that minor, which is another violation of this 2011 order.
So, Stephanie, just to be clear, I mean, we keep showing this picture of Bradley Bartholomew, but I'm having trouble following the bouncing ball with these criminals. Was Cortney with another sex offender, and that was the genesis of the problems that she faced when she lost her kids? It wasn't even this one, this Bradley Bartholomew sex offender. It was another sex offender she was with?
That's right. It wasn't Bradley. It was someone else. And when Rebecca was born, I want to note this. Rebecca was about a year old. Her and Kimberly are very close in age. And one of the reasons why she lost those girls was because she tried to drive off a bridge with them in the car. But prior to that, there was a court documentation note that they were having trouble explaining to her or having her understand the consequences of having her children around sexual offenders.
I can't believe it. Every time you answer a question, you add something more that shocks me. The fact that she tried to drive off a bridge with the daughter she eventually would be accused of murdering and butchering to remove a baby. I feel like, Stephanie, you and I aren't finished talking. I think we're going to be discussing this case a lot more. Thank you so much for doing this on a Friday night. I look forward to our next conversation. And that's where this case stands tonight. We are absolutely staying on this one. Every twist, every filing, and every development, because I, for one, believe the minute these four people step into a courtroom, there's got to be something that their lawyers say. There's definitely something the prosecutors will say. And usually there's some kind of indication of details of why they figured they could be arrested and charged with such serious crimes. Make sure that you're subscribed on YouTube or your podcast app so that you never miss an update, because these are going to come fast and furious, trust me. And I will see you in the next episode. I'm Ashleigh Banfield. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you for listening. And remember, the truth isn't just serious, it's drop dead serious.